Right, welcome back to M-TEL. Today again we are working on the BMW 335i twin turbo on an 07 plate. Today we are basically working on the engine mount, driver's side. The way the bolts sit in the mounts on these, when they come through the subframe, the moisture can get down in the bolt threads, and you'll find that sometimes when you unbolt the bolts and try to take the mount off of the subframe, the actual threads will come out actually on the bolt. So basically today what we're doing is we're removing the engine mount. We've already tapped the threads out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the mount, and then I'm going to stud the mount with two big long Allen key bolts, and then basically rather than having a bolt come up from the bottom, you'll have two studs drop out the other side. Then you can put two nice big heavy washers on, and basically a nut, and then couple of lock nuts basically to hold it in place. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Going to show you about us taking the mount out. Way we are going to do it is I've got my pit open at the moment. I've got the car jacked up on one side. We're going to slide one of these pieces of wood underneath the engine and block the engine up, and then we're going to drop the car down, and as we do, the engine will lift on the driver's side. Then we're going to remove the actual mount arm from the bottom of the car, and then extract the actual engine mount, and then basically repair the engine mount on the bench, and then basically put it back together. This car has got no turbochargers on it because we're in the process of doing a single turbo conversion. But what I'm going to do is, obviously, like on your car, you'll have no access on the top because your turbos will be set over. So I'm going to show you all from underneath, taking the mount out and basically repairing the mount and putting the mount back in. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Alright, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy. Right, we're down in the pit. Got the GoPro set up. Basically this is the mount arm here, and the engine mount is there behind this heat shield basically. Now what we're going to do is we've got a bolt here, another one here, another one here, and another one here. And these are basically torque drive bolts, basically MAL versions. E14 is what they are. Now we're going to crack these off basically. We're going to lift the engine up and basically extract these bolts. So get the spanner up in there. Right, that's undo up there. No, it is on undo. Right. Right. There's one. Two. Three. Can't get that last one in there. Can you just pass me the small ratchet? Should be on the, it's down there on the floor. Sweet fun. Get 3/8 from there. Yeah, oh, that's on do it. Right, let's go this one. Right, that's all four. That's all the four bolts holding the mount off. Now basically to do this normally on your BMW, if you're taking the mounts off, you'll have to take the cats off, which normally sit under here and come up into the actual turbocharger, because the catalytic converters, the front cats sit right up underneath here and you won't get access to anything. It's quite a big job on a normal one, but obviously the good thing about this is, well, it's all removed on ours, so you can pretty much see everything. Right, Jason, if you want to start lowering it down a bit. I'll keep going. All the way. Like that, do. Right, you can see now the mount's loose. Bottom around, you can see it over the top. Now the arm as well is loose, so we're gonna basically, the car's having a bit of a wee on me. Which is nice. Right, okay. I'm gonna take these four bolts out here. One. 2. Now, if you're doing this basically, obviously, and you ain't got a pit, you're going to have to do this actually laying underneath the motor. My personal opinion would be to axle stand the actual car, because you'd be underneath it, and then put the jack under the sump with a block of wood on top of it, and then jack the actual engine up from underneath. Make sure the passenger side mount is all still connected, because then if you try to undo both of them, the engine will kind of decide whatever way it wants to go and not where you want it to go. So the best thing to do is leave one connected, do one at a time. Take this arm off. The driver's side one is a bit more, isn't as hard. The passenger side one isn't as hard as the driver's, because you have a lot more access, because you can actually get it from the top to actually gain access to it. So a lot easier, not as hard. That's why we're doing it now before we put all the single turbo in, because when all the manifolds in, we ain't gonna get in there for nothing. So sorting this mount out now, get it done. Oh, the last bolt don't want to come out. Come on. Actually set up against the actual engine mount itself now. Oh, come on. Get that out. Unstench now. Quiet bolts holding it now. I can get it. There we go. Right. Oh. There we go. That's the engine mount bracket from engine 2 mount, and then the mount is up in here. Lift this out, push this out, and there is your engine mount. Just sits there, which is there, basically. Now basically the holes that we're sorting out today are these holes in the bottom, basically. This hole here, let's turn it this way. This hole here, and this hole here. And we're going to basically put some Allen key bolts down from this side. Right, let's get out from underneath the motor. We're going to leave it all blocked up where it's all good. And when we're done, we'll come back underneath here and then we'll put it all back together. Right, engine mounts out, got it on the bench here. Now basically these are the holes that destroy themselves. We've already run the tap through them, but there's not a lot of thread left. And the reason being is when these sit on the car, so basically if you imagine the car's there, sits on the car on the subframe like that. And then basically the bolts then pass up from underneath through the subframe. Now basically the holes are open at the top, so what basically happens is the water and moisture sits on the top of the mount and then falls down through the thread hole and basically corrodes the alley thread into the steel bolt basically. Then when you try to undo it, it just tears the thread out. And that's pretty much what's happening with these. Now normally the fix is you have to go buy a new set of engine mounts, or you can do this basically, and this is what we're going to do. And also it makes them stronger because these are actually like high tensile Allen key bolts, so these won't snap very easy. Right, so we've got the mount off. We got here, I think these are 65mm, these bolts. Shall we check? What do you reckon? Measure?
If you want, I don't mind.
Yeah, let's get tape. Just make sure. I swear that's what they are. Tape measure. They are 45mm. See, got that wrong. Right, now obviously when they sit in the mount, you'll have about 10mm hanging out the tail side. You'll have about 5mm, which is actually the body shell. And then you'll have probably about 10mm left, which you can then put a nice washer on. Now basically these have got a small collar, little 15mm collar, 15mm long. So basically what we've got to do is we've got to drill down basically 15mm into the actual mount to actually get a good, so the bolt sits down nicely. Not much threads in that one. One in there. Nice. And 6. That's big. Oh, looks like I've got one of the Allen keys missing. I have got one of my Allen keys missing. Yes, seems to be on M6. I'll just get a big tool drive. Big Allen key and one. And basically, yeah, so we've done that. Get your Allen key, wind it in. Will it like the collar though, or will I need a bigger drill bit? I liking the collar. Perfect. Not liking it that much though. All the way down. So good the thread was. Gonna need a bigger drill bit. Next size up. Didn't like that. Bit of masking, bit of tape. There, that should do it. Still good. Right. Put a bit of insulation around because I'm going with a bigger drill. I don't want to go too far through, so slip me already. Boom, that's that one. Boom. Go. That's good. Got a bit of thread left in the other side. Bit of Loctite. Bit of Loctite. Okay. Wind them in. I've also ground, there's like 2 normal chamfers that come down to cover it, so I've kind of cut them back as well. So I've got a nice flat face for the bolt to seat on, so I've also done that. That one's just fallen straight through, so much of the thread was left. Do this one. some thread. Not a lot though. Right, there we go, one studded engine mount. Boom! Right, that's done. I'm going to stick that back on the car and crank it up with a nice washer on the back to make sure it don't go anywhere. Right, there we go. Right, let's get back under the motor. Right, we're back under the motor now. It's about to reassemble. Got me a modified engine mount here. I'm going to lift that up, plonk that back in. Sits in there. Up that goes. It's got to go in there. Right, where's the stud? There's one. Where's the other one? There's the other one. Right. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Right, that's back in. Right, okay. 13 mil. Where'd that go? There it is. Oh, got it. Kind of in a position here where the see on there nicely. Right, next nut, washer. Go on there like that. And that's got to go up. In a position where the bit of wood's in just that wrong position. I can't fucking see anything. Boom. Right. They're both on. Nice big washers. Try to get some nice big washers on there as well to spread the load in the subframe. Quite a few times I've found Beamers, BMWs, where they've torn the nuts through the actual subframe. I mean, that poses to be a bit of a problem, especially with something like this, because obviously we're then trying to fix another issue. That one's turning. What? Did that just turn? Right. You've got the Allen key up there, Jace. Gonna have to get on the other side with the Allen key if I can reach it. It was on the bench. No, it's here on the floor. Sorry, I got it. Jason, can you see if you can get on that Allen key and hold that Allen key? You should be able to see it. Got it?
Yep.
No, it's just popping out, isn't it?
Go again. It's slipping.
That's it. That'll do. That's nice and tight. I nipped it up from underneath. That one's tight. You got that one?
Yeah, I'm on it.
That one's well tight, that one.
Going anywhere.
Not going nowhere. Right, there we go, that's that bit done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the mount bracket back on, which is here. What we've got to do with this, that's got to come through here. So, now basically, you've got to locate that under there, and that under there. Get that stud in place. Bolt. Screw that bolt in. Yep. Short one. One back in there. So, number two, that one there. Another one. So 4. I'm wondering whether I'll have to do these as well on this side. I can't remember whether I tried to undo them or not. If I do, then it'd just be another one, won't it? Hey Jace. So if I can't remember whether I cracked the other nuts off on the other side. I think after doing this side I left the other side and actually undone it through the bracket and left the mount on the subframe, because this one what it did. So yeah, if you ever take your subframe off, leave the mounts on the subframe. And then obviously you won't have to do that. A good little trick for you. Just makes it a bit of a nightmare when trying to put the subframe back on though, because you've got to try and get the pins through the mounts. Unless you take the arms off. The other way you could do it is leave the mounts on the subframe and take the arms off of the engine. And then basically take the arms actually off of the subframe as well. So all you're left with is the mounts on the subframe. Then you can put the subframe back on with the engine propped up or hanging, so you could get like a gearbox hanging strap. Strap the engine up, lift the engine up off the subframe, take the mounts out, disconnect them disconnect the actual engine mount arms from the mounts, and then basically the engine will be hanging on the actual engine cradle, like one of the gearbox cradles, and then you can take the subframe off with the mounts on, do whatever you've got to do underneath, put the subframe back on, put the mounts back on the actual engine, and then drop the engine back down onto the subframe mounts, onto the engine mounts. So that's another way you can do it. But if you have been unlucky enough and you've undone them bolts and destroyed the threads in them, like I did, and then do what I've done to repair it basically. Oh, they're all locked up. Nice and tight. Right, do you want to jack it up, Jason? And then I'll pull the blocks out and then we'll lower it down and drop it back down on the engine mount. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Nearly there. There. Box it out. Hang on, 2 bits. Right, let it down.
Let it down. Going down.
It's all sitting nice, isn't it? I can't see the mount from up there. I believe it is. I think it's back down. It looks back down. The problem is I can't see properly. Oh, please don't say I've done what I think I've done. No, I haven't done what I think I've done, because the heat reflective shield's in the right place. Oh yeah, right, there you go. Mount's back in. All that's left now to do is stick the bolt on from the top and boom, all good. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed watching. If you like what you've seen, please share and get the video about. Thank you very much.